I let y'all pick today's video, and at 50% of the votes, today's the day we figure out if I can beat Dark Souls 2 Scholar the First Sins Edition with only shields. Like always, summoning won't be allowed, but other than that, there's no fancy rules this time. Any and all shields are viable. I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to this challenge. I'm not as familiar with Dark Souls 2 as I am with its prequel and sequel. Plus, I don't know the first thing about shields since I never used them in these games. I can already tell this challenge is going to piss me off, but either way, let's begin. I picked the warrior as my starting class since they're the only ones who start off with a shield. I named her Zamazenta, and picked up the petrified something as my starting item. The first hurdle of this run was figuring out why I'm always guarding and can't attack with my shield. The secret to deactivating this annoyance is pressing M on the keyboard. I wouldn't have guessed that without the help of Google. I gambled away my petrified something and won a demon great hammer which doesn't help me for this challenge. So I made my way over to Majula, let Shanalot flap her gums for a little bit, then received the Estus Flask to ease my suffering. Now that I'm in the forest of fallen windmills, I can firmly say that shields aren't terrible. The damage isn't the worst, and I learned that shields block damage with some of their attacks, which is nice for minimizing damage. Unfortunately, the amount of enemies that Scholar the First Sin likes to throw at you turns that advantage into a bit of a downside. Blocking drains stamina, and without stamina, I'm left wide open to attacks. Then on top of that, each time I block or deal damage, it drains the durability of the shield, which is a whole discussion I don't want to get into. Instead, look at this hollow trying to get his freak on. After my free lap dance, I spoke with the legendary Super Saiyan Kale, and the homie hooked me up with the key to Majula Mansion. I grabbed the free lockstone from inside, and plugged that shit into a wall for a free Titanite slab and Chloranthy ring. Wearing the ring boosts my stamina recovery speed, which I'm in desperate need of. After some leveling up and shield upgrades, I went down to fight the last windmill. He looks like he's seen a ghost from the past. Jokes aside, this actually took me a few attempts. I was still dusting off that Dark Souls 2 rust and kept dying to those big steppers. But on the third try, I locked in. For the most part, I just have to stay between his legs like a cat following their owner down the stairs while dodging his stomping tantrums. Around 50% HP, the last windmill rips off his arm in an attempt to beat me with it. This phase transition gives me plenty of time to get in some free damage. I almost fumbled this fight by getting off cadence, and the only thing that saved me was the Radiant Life Gem I popped 2 seconds before getting smacked. After that scare, I ran in and closed out the fight, and with that, the first boss has been defeated. After the windmill, I decided to head over to Heide's Tower of Flame. Little did I know this was hell itself. Every enemy is beefy and hits hard. What's not helping my situation is the awkward hitbox of this shield. I can be right up their ass and I'll just miss my attack sometimes. God bless Dark Souls 2. The real problem with this area is that after I kill the Dragon Rider, every Heide Knight will aggro, and I already know I can't deal with that clusterfuck. So I had to get on my demon timing and systematically call the entire population. For those of you not familiar, Dark Souls 2 has a mechanic where if you kill an enemy 12 or so times, it'll stop respawning. So I spent about 5 hours cleaning this place up. I even got lucky and received the Heide Knight chainmail as a drop. I'll be wearing this to not forget my suffering. With the area cleaned up, I now have safe passage to both bosses. First up is the bad Dragon Rider. All honestly, I didn't think the Iron Parma would be strong enough to guard against his attacks, but it definitely is. What really makes this fight easy is that every time he attacks, he's wide open for an attack or two. Give him enough swings and he'll even stagger, opening himself up for even more damage. All I did was circle him to death and earn myself a first try victory. I definitely feel like I overprepared for this. On my way to the next boss, I finished my Red Dragon Slayer task, which dropped me the Watch Dragon Parma. This new shield is already stronger than my +4 Iron Parma, has overall better defenses, and has a higher potential to stagger enemies. Also, I just wanted to give a special fuck you to this Heide Knight. There's a special place in hell for this one. Now it's time to fight Ornstein without Smo. Oh shit, my apologies, brother. He's got that Spider-Man symbiote suit taken over now. Allow me to introduce Dripstein. Much like the Dragon Rider, guarding while circling to the right avoids most of his attacks. I'm over here pretending I'm the TSA, patting this man down on his left thigh. This is literally 90% of the fight. I was honest to God getting bored. Then Dripstein surprised me with his big thrust which completely ignores my shield. Looks like I didn't move to the right fast enough. If this was OG Ornstein, I'd have been worried. You know, I miss the old Ornstein. The straight from the gold Ornstein, the shock up the soul Ornstein, set on his goals Ornstein. After coasting to the right for about 9 minutes, Dripstein finally goes down, giving me another first try victory. With Mild and Black out the way, I could pick up 2 new shields, the Cleric's Parma, but more importantly, the Tower Shield. So now it's time for my favorite Dark Souls 2 boss, the Pursuer. Bro drops in like a Call of Duty care package and hits us with the 2016 deep-fried laser eyes. Straight up definition of daddy's home. Unfortunately for him, I'm well versed in his moveset. Originally I wrote down that I was well versed in the way of pursuing. Sounds hella bad out of context. Like some Dateline NBC type shit. So far, I'm pretty surprised at how well shields actually block damage. I was expecting these bosses just to break my guard with every hit. Now it's time to get to work on the Pursuer. For me, the easiest attack to dodge is his gliding slash. I just roll into it and get a free hit afterwards. About halfway through the fight, my Watch Dragon Parma almost broke, but I planned ahead by having the Iron Parma equipped it. This swap actually made the fight a little harder since it's not as consistent with connecting hits, so this became a test of patience. The other attack I like to bait out is the 3-hit combo. All I do is walk backwards to dodge it, then run in for a hit. This isn't a hard fight, just a long one, but in the end this is another first try victory under my belt. With the Pursuer out of the way, we earned ourselves the Ring of Blades. This gives me an extra 20 damage for all physical attacks, which thankfully includes the Shield Bash. After that, I teleported back to Heide's Tower of Flame, then cut through a cave to arrive in No Man's Wharf. I didn't know Vikings still existed.
They mostly live in Minnesota!
Yar, mateys, here be the Flexile Sentry. And for this landlubber, it's a tough battle. There's a leak in the hull, so this water isn't just knee-deep, it's 3 feet high and rising. The higher the water goes, the lower my mobility. I mentioned it before, but I have to bring it up again. My attacks just don't connect sometimes. It's so fucking weird. Fortunately, this prolongs the fight, and opens me up to a few problems. Mr. Flexile has a grab attack that goes through my shield for massive damage, which turns this dumbass reptile into an unexpectedly hard fight. The only part that seems to reliably register my damage is the hips. After a few deaths, I'm blessed with the RNG to dodge the grab and stab combo, letting me send the Flexile Sentry to Davy Jones' locker. Now I can set sail to the Lost Bastille.
Oh shit! Get your towels ready, it's about to go down!
But we're gonna take the back entrance because it's way cooler. Upon arriving, I play another round of grab ass with the Pursuer, then open up a chest for a fragrant branch of yore. I then use the branch on String Bean here to get his rocks off. With the route cleared, I hop down to fight the Rune Sentinels, Ayo, Riz, and Yi. First up is Yi, and the shield makes this way too easy. Not only does it deal great damage, but it also blocks all of their damage. I was just beating the brakes off of them, had them looking like a Life Alert commercial. With Yi out the way, it's time for a 2v1 against Ayo and Riz. Even with the odds stacked against me, the shield holds up strong. They tried to give me a double dose with a spin to win, but it wasn't enough to take me out. I actually thought this would have been a brick wall for the run, but they just take turns coming at me, so they folded pretty easily. That's another first try victory under my belt. After fighting the terrible triplets, I fight off the Pursuer yet again, ring the Bell of Awakening, and take on the Belfry gargoyles. Whoops, wrong game. But this is overall the same fight as Dark Souls 1, except with more gargoyles. As we've already learned, if anything deals physical damage, this shield will shut them down. Most of the fight is spent tiptoeing around the gargoyle gangbang, weaving through their attacks, trying to bait out their fire breath. That attack is easy to dodge and locks them into place, allowing me to get in some easy damage. Even if I don't kill one immediately, I can leave it at low health for a hit and run later. But I still have to be quick about the kills. If I take too long, another one will spawn in until all 6 have been defeated. I'm once again surprised at how easy this fight was. Just a bunch of 6-piece chicken McNobodies. And that makes another first try victory. After some exploring, I met up with Pursuer Senpai for our lunch date, only to bump into him again. We have to stop meeting like this. Behind him is the Bracing Knuckle Ring. This bad boy slows the degradation of all my gear, which is a great quality of life upgrade. I made my way down to Sinner's Rise, and before fighting the next boss, I lit up the left and right sides. Wait a minute. Oh god damn it, this is just the bed of chaos all over again. The reason for turning on the night lights was to increase my lock on range. Not necessary, but it helps a lot. The Lost Sinner has a tendency to jump away when you try to attack her, which is pretty damn annoying. So this is one of those rare moments where I'll stick close to the boss and try to get in a hit after a swinger combo. Normally the Lost Sinner gives me a tough time, but shields shut her down. Using the tried and true method of circling to the right proves to be very effective. That makes another first try victory. Yeah, that was pretty easy. Feeling very confident with shields at this point, and we attained our first Great Soul 2. Let me get a little off topic for a second. If you know any lore about the Lost Sinner, please share it in the comments. I always assumed she got locked up for trying to bring back the Chaos Flame or something. I never really looked into it. But back to the video. After the battle, I get a free tele back to Majula and speak to... I forgot this lady's name, and I'm too lazy to look it up. But she charges me 2,000 to use her toll road, and god damn do I hate toll roads. After looting around in Huntsman's Copse, I stonewall this red phantom, then prepare myself for the Executioner's Chariot. And this fight is pretty hard. There's too many damn skeletons, and they'll keep respawning until I kill the mage that's reviving them. Every time I reached a mage, I got boxed in, then gang banged by the Bone Boys. Getting into these little mage coves is important for staying alive. If I don't deal with that bullshit fast enough, then duck in a cover, I'll get ran through by the horse like Catherine the Great. When I finally make it through the steeplechase, I can pull this lever to lower the gate down, which causes the chariot to crash into it Burnout Revenge style, starting the actual fight. Thankfully, attacks from Seabiscuit will also finish off the remaining skeletons, but once again the bad hitboxes strike back. I hit the horse once, and the second attack doesn't connect somehow. Not that it matters since I ended up getting the back hoof, head smash, then given the Black Death. On my final attempt, I ran all the way to the start of the arena to shake off the skeletons, and almost walked off the ledge, so I whipped myself back around and started beating this dead horse. I actually need to dodge the attacks since they bypass the shield. Even with the skeletons out the way, getting damage in is still a chore because of this goddamn hitbox. But after fumbling way too many hits, I finally sent the Chariot off to the glue factory. So before I take on the skeleton lords, I just wanted to talk about these curse jars. Listen to the giggle it does. It's the same one that Eve from Parasite Eve does in the SpongeBob subliminal messaging. If you know anywhere else this laugh has been used, please let me know. But enough of that, it's time for the skeleton lords. After bashing one of the lords to death, they erupt like a piñata, giving birth to a skeleton army. Luckily for me, each newly born skeleton dies in one hit. After clearing the field, I rinse and repeat 2 more times for another first try victory. I'm actually getting so many first try victories, I'm going to tally these up at the end of the video. After sprinting through Harvest Valley, I take on the covetous demon. Oh god, like, what do you want me to even say about this fight? There's nothing to say about this boss, he's a complete joke. So please take this video clip as a substitute. Trust me, that video clip was more entertaining than anything I could have said about that boss. In Earthen Peak, I burnt down this funny-looking giant. Not sure why burning this giant down stops the production of poison, but who am I to question Dark Souls 2 level design? Upon reaching the top of the tower, we enter Mytha's den. I won't bore you with the first attempt, all you need to know is she tossed my salad as soon as I walked in. I'll admit, it's always the most random-ass bosses that catch me lacking. So Mytha has this grab attack that I wasn't aware of until today. I don't mind a good squeeze, but we just met each other. She even tried giving me some head, and lo and behold, it was a live grenade. That's the oldest trick in the book, I'm not falling for that one again. At the halfway point, I started to really lay in the damage and even got a nice stagger in. But just like the Lost Sinner, she has a tendency to jump backwards if I attack. She landed in the Ring of Poison, which unfortunately heals her back up a little. Once she hopped out of her bath, I managed to stagger her once again, and with that, this slippery shamrock snake has been slain. I promise I won't complain about the logistics of this elevator, but I will say it's the longest 30-second ride in my entire life. I already know Iron Keep is going to be awful, so I went to work calling another population. These samurai ain't got jack on me. With the road cleared, it's time for my hot date with the Smelter Demon. This motherfucker. I'll be up front. I can't beat him right now. For those not familiar with the Smelter Demon, he creates an aura of fire which does constant damage if you're near him. It goes through my shield, and even the health regen ring isn't enough to offset the damage. Best way to out-heal that burn damage is with life gems, which the Smelter Demon doesn't give me time to activate. On top of that, the boss has inconsistent melee combos. Sometimes it's 2 swings, other times it'll be 2 swings followed by a big cleave, or he could surprise you with a jumping slam which may or may not explode. I even tried using a bigger shield. This does a much better job at dealing and blocking damage, but it still wasn't enough. I was running very low on life gems, so at this point I decided that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. So I'm gonna do what's called a tactical retreat and come back later. Thankfully we can just skip this boss and keep progressing. After running through the gauntlet of fire, I turn off the flames, then face off against the spicy boy Texas Pete. So I finally switch over to the tower shield and it does awesome damage. I kinda regret not using it sooner. Texas Pete is slow and easy to dodge. You have a higher chance of drowning yourself in the lava pit on accident than dying to any of his attacks. His melee attacks are easy to dodge and leave him wide open for damage, same goes for the fire attacks too. Even with all that going for me, I started to fumble a bit there at the end. I took a quick ride on his fist which had me worried for a second. I'm actually surprised that it didn't knock me into the lava, but I'll gladly accept the mercy of Dark Souls 2. So I healed up, waited for him to drop another hammer arm, then gave him the old 1-2 buckle my shoe to secure another first try victory. After hopping back home, I went off the beaten path, turned on that 2005 movie The Fog, and picked up the upgraded version of the Dank Weed Ring. Afterwards I spent some time listening to Vengarl talk about finding peace and going on his vagabond farming arc. Once Grandpa was finished with story time, I unrocked a Lion Warrior for the Fang Key, then set Ornifex free. Fun fact, I never went to see her. Now for my next duel, my opponent plays Mystical Beast of Cirquet in attack mode and crashes it into my Big Shield Gardna. Nothing too special with this fight, but she did double penetrate me with her girl dick, filling me to the brim with her toxic juice. I popped a few crunch berries to offset the damage. I don't think I've ever been hit by that before. Actually, thinking about it now, I haven't played enough Dark Souls 2 to have seen every attack. For me, this is a pretty boring fight. I'm just standing on my rock playing King of the Hill and showing this lady Pink Floyd's The Wall. Another easy fight. Running past the village Ganados lands me at Prowling Magus and the Conjugation. This isn't really a boss. This is just a group of dudes hanging out after work praising the good book. But fighting this boss did show me the light. I found my new favorite attack, the Jumping Shield Slam. This shit hits hard, hits fast, and it can knock down enemies. 10 out of 10 in my book. Unfortunately, these clowns aren't worth talking about, but they do drop a Titanite slab, so that'll come in handy later. I I had a tough choice to make here. I can either kill Pate or kill Creighton, so obviously I choose to kill Pate, then Creighton. Have I ever mentioned that I hate spiders? Because I really do, and the Duke's dear Freja is no exception. With this boss I gotta hit it from the front, then hit it from the back, get it locked up like a Chinese finger trap. I got her down to a third before she stepped on me mid-heal, resulting in a very unfortunate death. The drink speed in Dark Souls 2 is on par with the health bar in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Oh yeah, now that's slow. The second try I cleaned up my act. I hit one ass face, ran to the other side while avoiding the laser beam, then slapped the other ass face. Gotta stay light on my feet since I'm surrounded by these little spiders. If I'm not careful, they'll pile up on me and bite my booty. After completing the spider song and dance, Freja is squashed for good. I made sure to pick up the Great Soul off the ground, then dribbled her head back to the bonfire to take home as a trophy. I decided I was finally strong enough to try the Smelter Demon again. At this point, the tower shield straight up walls the demon. Even after he buffs himself, the tower of power minimizes most of the fire damage, letting me use life gems with no issue. Each time the Smelter Demon misses his exploding sword slam, I can follow up with a jumping shield slam of my own for massive damage. The tower shield can even withstand his flaming grand slam, which I'm very impressed by. This did take a lot of patience, but I got him on the first return, so it's lights out for the Smelter Demon. After reloading the area, I take on the Pursuer for the last time for real. He dropped me the upgraded Ring of Blades as his final parting gift. Back in Majula Oblongata, I haggled the first Elden Lord Godfrey, and had him set me up a ladder to the Grave of Saints. Down here is rats, and more rats. And the boss? Even more rats. The Royal Rat Vanguard isn't a hard boss, but I have to worry about getting mobbed by these rat-faced bitches. All the rats down here inflict petrification, which will instantly kill me if the bar fills up. If you've noticed, there's no health bar because the boss isn't here yet, but he spawns in after exterminating 10 rats. After spotting the red-eared bastard, he goes down in 3 jumping slams for another first try victory. Life decided I've been doing too good and flung me off of the scaffolding. After reaching the bottom, I can now smash my way through the gutter. One thing I do have to point out is how much faster my shield degrades in this area. I'm not sure if it's because of the one-hand overhead swing, or because I'm hitting the floor with my attacks, but it's very noticeable. After lighting up the way, getting shot by every fucking statue down here, and repairing my shield, I finally reach the Black Gulch. Down here I get to shove around Woodland Child Victor and Golly, which also unlocked me the Selfless Giver achievement for maxing out a Covenant, so that's pretty cool. Since I was feeling pretty confident, I hopped further down and fought off 2 windmills for the Forgotten Key and a Windmill Soul. On my way to use the Forgotten Key, I got invaded by someone named Fox. Even though this was Final Destination 1v1 no items, I still tried to put up a fight. But then he bowed, dropped 10 effigies, casted Warmth, and left. Whoever you were, I appreciate you for not killing me. Like, legit cool ass dude. I did bank the effigies to try and preserve the integrity of this run. With that panic attack out the way, I picked up Havel's set, but more importantly, his great shield. With all that out of the way, it's time for some raw, unfettered ass. A trash man, better known as the Rotten. And like most bosses, the tower shield blocks all damage from his axe body spray. I think the only things that could hurt me in this fight are his slow grab attacks, the black explosion, and walking into the fire pits. I've never had a problem fighting the Rotten before, but this is just sad. He really feels like a discount off-brand Nito. Dark Souls 2 isn't really giving me much to work with. Like, I walk in, I either wall the boss, or I don't, then I walk out. Yay, I won on the first try again. Who could have foreseen this happening? And with 4 Great Souls in hand, I can finally pass through the Shrine of Winter. I could have also passed through the door by having over 1 million soul memory, which I actually had after beating the Smelter Demon, but I did it the right way, because I like ya. Inside Drangleic Castle, I purchased the upgraded Bracing Knuckle Ring from Chancellor Wang Daddy, fucked up some more rune sentinels, passed by a portrait of the Queen of England. It's alright, I guess. I could do a better job, though. Hey, it's no Georgia O'Keeffe, but it's pretty damn close. I fought off the nameless usurper, then let Dommy Mommy whisper sweet little nothings into my ear before taking on the double Dragon Riders. Alright, so I actually goofed and died like an idiot. Not really sure what my excuse is for that one, but who gives a fuck. Round 2 goes smoothly. It's the same boss from earlier except there's 2 of them and 1 is blue, so there's really nothing special to bring up this time. Just circle and slam. On the way to the next boss, I had my rematch against Mr. Horse and Gary the Gargoyle, pounded out some desert sorcerers, then picked up the key to the King's Passage, which lets me open the door to the Looking Glass Knight. He is the definition of be my mirror, my sword and shield. Unfortunately for him, things are not looking viva la vida. He's big, he's slow, he can jump high, but this shield's too much for that guy. After getting the knight in the Amazing Mirror down to half HP, he takes stance, giving birth to a beautiful baby squire, which gets taken out in 2 jumping slams, with Mirror Man getting taken out shortly afterwards. If he wanted me dead, he should have attacked with a shield. Everyone knows that shields are the deadliest weapons in these lands. Either way, another first try victory. Up next is my least favorite area in any Souls game, the Shrine of Amana. This place sends a shiver of hatred down my spine. Then you got Shirley Temple down here singing her heart out. Animal crackers in my soup, monkeys and rabbits loop the loop. The mages are more annoying than my terrible singing. You need to kill each one, no ifs, ands, or buts. They're more aggressive than a drunk stepfather. They will non-stop spam that magic. As we learned with the Flexile Sentry, high waters will slow you down. The Archdrake Pilgrims are faster than Sonic the Hedgehog and hit like a truck. If you manage to make it past the second bonfire, you'll be greeted by the Peculiar Kindler. The only thing peculiar about them is how hard they are. Trust me, don't try to fight them in the water. Get them to dry land and crack their skull in. After that slog, I arrive at Lake Michigan J-Frog. I won't lie, this frog knows how to run the ones, and hits way harder than I expected. This frog-faced bitch has the perfect counter to my shield, better known as a grab attack. She picks me up and starts shaking me around like a baby in a seasoning bag. Also, you can't damage the boss while the foreskin is up, so I gotta wait for it to unravel itself like a fruit roll-up. Once the soft bits are exposed, I can go to Pound Town. I quickly find my groove and the Demon of Song croaks, granting me entrance to the Undead Crypt. Down here, the goth kids tell me,
"You dare bring light to my lair? You must die!"
So I ran through the entire area because my Dark Souls 2 itis was starting to flare up again. Royal Aegis starts off with the footwork, trying to kick my shield away. Look at that form. There is some deep hatred behind that. Some Leon S. Kennedy opening a door type of shit. Putting his musty-ass size 32s all up on my shield. I'm actually surprised the shield can block his hammer. It just doesn't look or feel like it should work. Luckily for me, those same attacks leave him wide open after a combo. Halfway into the fight, he does come close to killing me. I went in for a slam and took a point-blank volley of darkness. I went in for a heal the same time he swung at me, which barely saved my ass. It really doesn't get closer than that. On the other hand, I can use that same volley to my advantage, and get in some damage after he fires. I just have to hold up the shield and literally walk around it. Once I found out that putting distance between us prompts him to use the dark volley, I just kept backing off. The man who looks like he dipped himself in movie theater popcorn butter goes down on the first attempt, letting me pick up the King's Ring. I'll be back for you later, Vendrick. Equipping the ring lets me open up these sealed-off doors. Aldia's keep is just a flight of stairs and a long hallway. The only thing that stands in my way is 3 hungry hippos. Thank God this doorway is made out of Nokias and Nintendium. Alright, what do I even say about the Guardian Dragon? I mean, it's more of a wyvern than a dragon. It can fly and it breathes fire. I mean, that's kinda cool. It's big, it's red, and it's dead. What a joke of a boss. I took another long-ass elevator into the sky, beelined it to the Dragon Shrine, then got spooked by a chestnut roasting on an open fire. At the top of the shrine, the ancient dragon speaks to me and grants me the ability to enter visions of the past. But before doing that, I head down to the Doors of Pharaohs to fight the Royal Rat Authority while it's still in my mind. You get a sad crackhead version of Sif alongside his rat mobs, who inflict toxic and petrification. This fight is annoying. Honest to God, 80% of this fight is just me getting juggled around like a fucking pinball. Any damage I did to the boss was on accident. I'm just trying to kill this final small rat, but I kept missing my hits. After killing that annoyance, this fight is actually easy. And by easy, I mean I finished him off with 3 more hits. That's another tally for the first kill list. So with all that out of the way, I can now collect the windmill souls. And I'll be honest, I just sprinted through the first 2. But the third one is special. We face off against an old friend. Little did he know that they call me the Drink. Basically, I came back from the future. And this lord was waiting for me. And this windmill said, "This is pretty much the same fight as the future version, except he hits harder. He can also give me a good reach around with his sword if I'm standing behind him. This time around he wasn't much of an issue. Another first try victory. I just had to make sure to pick up his soul after the fight. Now we return to Dragon Shrine to get the last windmill soul. Coming in at 19,840 HP, the Ancient Dragon has the largest health pool in Dark Souls 2, but it comes in at number 2 for the entire trilogy. Yorm the Windmill takes the number 1 spot at 27,822, but let's be real, you're cheesing that absolute unit with the Storm Ruler. After a few good whacks, the dragon wakes up. Most of the Ancient Dragon's attacks will more or less one-shot you. His Rain of Fire has a massive AoE, and deals its damage in 2 or 3 separate hits. If the dragon lands on top of you after that attack, you will die. And if he steps on you, you're also dead. Fortunately for me, my shield has high enough stability and fire resistance to tank 2 hits from the Rain of Fire to minimize damage taken. Unfortunately, this fat fuck keeps landing on me. After getting body pressed twice in a row, I realized I needed a new strategy. What we're gonna do is hit him on his little piggies, then back the fuck up while tanking as much fire as I can. This will usually bait him into spewing fire forwards while I bash the tootsies. A lot of feet stuff this episode, I'm really sorry. After Big Boy lands, I have enough time to take a sip or pop a crunch berry to restore my health. As long as I keep repeating this process, this fight goes pretty easy, and the dragon goes down easily. With 5 windmill souls in hand, I return to the Undead Crypt to face off against George W. Bush.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, "Fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again."
Yes, that is an actual quote he said. The reason I needed all those souls was to cut down this man's defense budget. Basically, he starts at times 32 defense, and each soul cuts that number in half. Normally I settle for using 4 souls, but being at the full 5 feels amazing. Vendrick is similar to the Ancient Dragon in the way that 1 or 2 hits will kill most players, but once again the shield is able to block all damage in this fight. I'll be real with you, this fight is boring as hell. All I did was circle to the right and keep his ass off the wall. That's it. Nothing to see here, another first try victory. Now it's time to side quest. I joined the Pilgrims of Dark, run through 3 bullshit gauntlets. Then after lighting a torch at the end of each one, I'm granted access to not just the most forgotten boss in Dark Souls 2, but probably the most forgotten boss in any Souls game, the Darklurker. This 4-arm Rainy the Witch, Fool's Idol, Kintaro Sukuna looking motherfucker is pretty damn hard. He's got some nasty attacks. You got the super dark Kamehameha that hits like a truck but's easy to dodge. Then he has Dark Meteor where he fires an attack into one black hole, then it flies out of another. This does a fuck ton of damage, and catches me off guard almost every single time. He's capable of throwing out Dark Soul Spears that I'm not too afraid of. The man can turn himself into an unexpected bomb, and he'll even whip out the Salsa Blade, which is easy to sidestep. So the first half of the fight is pretty easy. Even though he deals dark damage, the shield still tanks it decently. Around the 60% mark, he does the classic Scooby-Doo, let's split up gang, and performs mitosis right in front of my eyes. To put this in perspective, he decided he only needed him and himself to jump my ass, then made it reality. What makes this so hard is you usually have one chasing you down with the energy blade, and the other cowarding in the back spamming spells. I won't bore you with all the losses, but before we skip ahead, I gotta talk about what makes this fight suck ass. Every time I die, I have to run back, talk to Gandalf, pay up a human effigy to access the portal, fight my way through the Fucktastic 4, then hop down to fight the boss. It's annoying as hell. So this is attempt number 9. As you can see, I finally switched over to Havel Shield. It beats the Tower Shield in every stat except weight. This attempt I got super lucky. Thanks to some crucial staggers, I managed to get the Darklurker down to 40% before the split. I forgot to mention that once separated, the 2 Darklurkers share a single health bar, and because of this I was able to slam both of them at the same time. I block off the Dark Blade, then avoid getting my face sandblasted while the OG teleports away. With both of them back in view, Chris Angel descends from the sky while I swing in the air instead of doing a jumping slam. I somehow managed to block the explosion, which pushed me out of the way of the Dark Spear. I go in for a slam and get hit by the second. I try to heal up but get hit by a third one. This Darklurker is a nuisance, so I rush in dodging the triple fireballs. I managed to get a heal in before they both ascended like the Rapture. Unfortunately for me, they cross the streams knocking me flat on my face. I get back up, take a sip, and go back to Pound Town. I manage to weave my way through another volley of fire. At this point I'm just waiting for an opening to attack, and when I do I completely miscalculated the distance. I didn't even notice the other Darklurker preparing to give me the old in and out treatment, so I ended up eating that attack for dinner. After getting my fat ass up, I'm met with a flurry of Dark Blades, and get a quick slam in while the other Darklurker rises. The beam completely misses me, allowing me to heal up before delivering a swing and a hefty slam to finish out the fight. I'm really glad that I was guarding there at the end. I didn't know their attacks persist after death. That was definitely the hardest boss so far. After that I killed Gandalf, for putting me through that bullshit and not warning me about the goddamn Darklurker. All that's left is to head back to Drangleic Castle and take on the final 2 bosses. But can anyone give me a reason why they chose not to put a bonfire at the bottom of this path? It's not a big issue, but it takes about 45 seconds to run down here. Maybe Elden Ring has just spoiled me with all the checkpoints. Anyways, first up is the double battle between the Throne Watcher and the Throne Defender. Let me tell you this, these two are no Ornstein and Smo. Should have called them Suck and Swallow. I don't have too much to say about these bombs. As expected, by this point the shield completely walls off the disappointing duo. Around 50% HP, they decided now is a good time to buff themselves, which we all know is a waste of their time. The only thing special about these two is they both need to be killed around the same time. If I don't manage to sync up the kills, and the one left alive will revive the other with full HP. But these Havel Slams do more damage than they could ever hope to handle. They both got folded like lawn chairs and tossed aside for another FTV. And the next boss isn't much better. The Bone Bride Nashandra shimmies her way in. What is technically the final boss of Dark Souls 2 you'd think should be hard, but she isn't. Now the real boss here is these little blight balls. They deal damage over time and also apply Curse. For those unfamiliar, Curse reduces your maximum health bar each time it procs, but stops at 50% HP. The Curse balls can be destroyed in one hit though, so my strategy here was to run in and destroy a ball, bait out her discount Darklurker beam, then go in for a slam and a swing. And as you already guessed, her scythe is useless against the shield, and with 2 jumping slams, Nashandra has been dethroned. She's definitely no Gwen or Soul of Cinder. For such easy fights, I snacked on an effigy cookie and washed it down with some Sunny D. And with that I have beaten Dark Souls. Oh yeah, there's one more fight. Aldia, Scholar of the First Sin. This fight has a nice back and forth cadence to it. let Aldia do his attack so he burns himself out, then run in and do as much damage as I can before he rekindles himself. If I go out of turn, I'll take constant damage from his fiery aura. His fireball spam is easy to sidestep. The only attack I actually felt threatened by was his cruel sun. Even tanking it with the shield does a good chunk of damage. I also need to be careful where he teleports to. That explosion hits like a truck, but it also leaves him wide open for attacks or a chance for me to heal. After getting hit by that explosion, I started going on the offensive. His moves are predictable and easy to avoid. Even though this isn't a hard fight, I appreciate the thematic value that it brings. Aldia is just testing me to see if I have the strength to overcome this world and what choice I'll make in it. Once I get him down to 50%, he increases the intensity of his fiery aura. I need to be more careful with my timing since even a second in those flames will delete half my health. But like always, the buff comes too late to save him. After some more running around, I deliver my final slam and shove combo. And with that, Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sins has been forgiven. Before I forget, here's all the bosses I got first try kills on. 23 out of 32 is pretty great in my opinion. If you're interested in seeing me do the DLCs with only shields, make sure you like, subscribe, or leave a comment. I wanted to include it in this video, but I'm burnt out. I replayed the entire Dark Souls trilogy last year, replayed Demon Souls, plus did 3 challenges in Dark Souls 1 this year, did everything in the Elden Ring DLC, and started working on the Shields Only challenge right after, so I need to give myself a little bit of a break. But before that happens, I'm going to try out a shorter challenge in a different game, just to see if that spices things up for me. If you like that little dude in the thumbnail, give a big thanks to my friend Thana for drawing it. She also has her own YouTube channel if you want to give her a follow. I'll leave the link to it down below. Oh yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter if you want to. And while you wait for the next challenge, check out some of the Let's Plays on the channel. We just finished our Dead Space 2 playthrough. We got a blind playthrough of Amori that I personally recommend. Then I also have all my other challenge videos if you haven't seen them yet. But until then, happy Halloween, and I hope to see you in the next one.
My special